name's Greg, and I'm one of the Campcraft outdoors instructors. I started coming out to Campcraft, basically I was in my mid-40s, and really looking for a change in my life. I was a career law enforcement officer. I started as a cop at 20 years old, and here I was on the verge of turning 50. And I guess like most men do, they suffer some sort of midlife crisis. And instead of going out and buying a Corvette or doing something silly, I decided to come out to Campcraft and learn how to sleep in the woods. Prior to that, I really had no religious upbringing. We were kind of made to go to Catholic church. My mom was raised in an all-girls Catholic education. My dad had no religious background growing up. He converted, had to go to Catholic lesson school so he could marry my mom, and that was his input into church. Throughout my marriage, we kind of dabbled in the church. We started to dabble in a local church being married, and just as I started to feel comfortable, unfortunately, my marriage suffered and failed, and we went through a divorce, and I was basically no longer welcome at that church. Struggled around for a few years, just trying to find a place, and like I said, on a whim, always liked to play in the woods as a kid. I went to the Pathfinder gathering and met Jason Hunt and his family. Great Sunday service, probably the best Sunday sermon I'd heard in my whole life. It was as if I was the only one in the shelter and Jason was talking to me. And at that point I knew I believed in Jesus my whole life. From the time I was a little kid, I believed there was Jesus. But I didn't know him, didn't know who he was. And I guess more so didn't know that he was always right there with me. As after that service, I decided to make the journey up from Florida to come out to a class. When I first got out to the class, met these guys, and it was like this random cast of characters. Here I was, a career law enforcement officer. There was a chef. There was a school bus mechanic, a couple other guys. We shared nothing in common other than just the fellowship of being in the outdoors and sharing a common belief. And there was something more than the world around us. Jason we immediately bonded. It was like an instant friendship. We took a ride on the property, and within a few minutes, I knew I was in a special place. I started to know the turns as we were driving. I'd never been to the property before. And started to know the turns as we were driving. We got up on top of one of the hilltops here that we often take the students. And I realized this weekend, the weekend I was there for class, I couldn't leave until I gave my life to Jesus. At the end of the class, everybody started, the weekend went great. Everybody started to kind of talk about going to getting some food, and I think Jason knew what was going on with me. And we ran down to an old stone quarry. As we were driving, I noticed people were behind us. And I got embarrassed. I thought, hey, these people are coming down to swim and hang out, and what are they going to think of some crazy guy getting dunked in the water? Little did I know it was the guys from class who came out to support me. Guys I had only met 24, 36 hours earlier were there to support me as I gave my life over to Jesus. I don't know how to describe that feeling. Longtime friendships. I've been mocked because of my decision. A lot of disbelief, a lot of people, come on, dude, like, are you for real? But here were these guys that knew, just like I did, the fellowship, the influence. The Bible's full of examples of Jesus and the disciples meeting in the woods. And when you come here to Campcraft, Jason always uses the example of you go camp in the woods and Jesus just shows up. In fact, he does show up out here. I enrolled in the instructor program. In every class, there was somebody who disclosed hurt, trauma, questions, things in their lives that they had been carrying around, these great burdens. and they really believe it at the campfire. And finally, I made it through the instructor program, and the final night of advanced class, you're kind of kept by yourself. You're taken away to another spot after your whole week, and it's just you and your thoughts. And I know at that point, Jesus personally showed up with me and spent that last night in the woods with me. He took me back through my life, going back to when I was 7 years old, and he showed me concrete examples of times he had been there. As proof that he had never left my side. He was with me from the day I was born. I just was either too arrogant, too prideful, too embarrassed to know he was there. Not only did he show me that he was always there, but he showed me examples of people throughout my life that I had interacted with who later on had turned their life over to Jesus as well. People before they passed that gave their life to Jesus, and I know I'll see again. And I'm just grateful for everything out here at Campcraft, and I'm grateful and blessed beyond belief to be a part of it now. I'm looking forward to changing a lot of lives and what's coming up, and I think the world needs a lot more campfires and a lot less Kardashians.